Don't just dismiss the fork. It has an incredible history. It's believed to have been first used by the Egyptians, though some argue that ancient Greeks were the pioneers. However, it wasn't until the 11th century that forks were introduced to the Western world by Italians. But here's the kicker. For a long time, religious figures viewed forks as sacrilegious. Why? Because they resembled artificial hands, and that was considered an offense to God. In fact, in Venice, a nobleman who died of the plague was said to have been cursed for eating with a fork. Despite the protests, by the 17th century, forks started to gain popularity among aristocrats. It wasn't until the 19th century that the common people embraced them. In 1582, the famous La Tour d'Argent restaurant in Paris became the first establishment to offer forks for commercial use. Interestingly, it was the famous explorer and writer Thomas Coryat who introduced the fork to England in the 14th century. For encouraging fork use, he was ridiculed and given the nickname Furcifer, meaning scoundrel. After the major plague outbreak in 1660, the aristocracy grew more concerned about hygiene and shared food from the same dish, so using forks became essential in British dining culture. The fork's name comes from the Latin word furca, which refers to a farming tool that resembles a pitchfork. Early forks had only 2 prongs, but by the 19th century, they evolved into the 4-pronged design we know today. Pretty wild, right? The fork went from being considered a sinful tool to becoming a must-have at the dinner table. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.